is also called as kingdom Metazoa. So we'll be discussing about this kingdom. So the uh, definition of an animal. So what is an animal? So here you have the examples of different animals. So animals are multicellular, eukaryotic, and heterotrophic organisms without cell wall and chlorophyll. The reserve food material in animals are also glycogen. So that is also one important aspect that you have to remember. So why we have not placed Protista under kingdom Animalia is because most of them are unicellular and aquatic in nature. And so whereas in an animal kingdom, we are including organisms which are multicellular, heterotrophic. That is, they cannot synthesize their own food. So they are either dependent upon plants directly or indirectly for their source of food. So, and animal cells, they do not have cell wall, neither do they have chloroplast. So they do not have cell wall and chlorophyll. So all these organisms which are multicellular, heterotrophic organism without cell wall and chlorophyll, without chlorophyll, and their reserve food material is glycogen, they are placed under the kingdom Animalia. So from sponges to mammals, you find different types of animals that are there. So we'll be studying in this kingdom Animalia 11 major phyla. So phylum Porifera or sponges, phylum Cnidaria or Coelenterata, it is also called as phylum Ctenophora. Then we will be studying about phylum Platyhelminthes, or we also call it as flatworms, phylum Aschelminthes or roundworms. Then we would also be studying about phylum Annelida, which is also called as segmented worms. So phylum Arthropoda, they'll have jointed legs. Okay, so phylum Mollusca, then phylum Echinodermata, which has spinescent skin. Then we'll be studying about phylum Hemichordata and phylum Chordata. Phylum Chordata includes the birds, amphibians, fishes, the mammals, reptiles. All this comes under the phylum Chordata. So 11 major phyla of kingdom Animalia we are going to study. So that is phylum Porifera, which belongs to uh, it is also called as sponges, phylum Cnidaria or Coelenterata. Then we are going to study the phylum Ctenophora, phylum Platyhelminthes, which is also called as flatworms. Then phylum Aschelminthes, which is also called as roundworms. Phylum Annelida or segmented worms. Here we are going to study the example of leech and earthworm. Phylum Arthropoda or jointed legs. Here we are going to study about crustaceans, insects, arachnids. Then phylum Mollusca, we are going to study about snails, the mussels, freshwater mussels. Then a lot of the octopus, sepia, then phylum Echinodermata, the spinous and skin animals we are going to study about. Then phylum Hemichordata we'll be studying about. And finally, the last phylum is Chordata. Under phylum Chordata, we are going to study about the fishes, the amphibians, the reptiles, birds, and mammals will be studying under the phylum Chordata. See the major basis of classification in animals. What is the basis of classification? The levels of organization. Are they at cellular grade of organization, or are they at tissue grade of organization, or are they at organ level or organ system level of organization? Based on this criterion also we have classification. Like if you take up phylum Porifera, they have cellular grade of organization. You notice this tissue grade of organization in Coelenterata and Ctenophora, that is phylum uh, Cnidaria and Ctenophora, these two phylums, they'll be having tissue grade of organization. Then from the phylum Platyhelminthes, you notice the organ and organ system of organization. Then the animals are classified on the basis of body symmetry, whether they are radially symmetrical animals or bilaterally symmetrical animals. On that basis also we are classifying them. Then they are also classified on their germinal layers. That is the total number of germinal layers that they have, whether they are triploblastic animal or diploblastic animal. If they are having three germ layers, that is outer ectoderm, middle mesoderm, and inner endoderm, we are going to consider them as triploblastic animals. If they have only two germ layers, outer ectoderm and inner endoderm, and in between they have this mesoglia, so we call such sort of organism as diploblastic animals. Then based on the presence of coelom, three types of animals you can classify them as acoelomate, which do not have any coelom, then pseudocoelomate, where they have a false coelom, and coelomate, eucoelomate or coelomate, where they have a true type of coelom. Then based of metamerism or segmentation also, animals are classified. Then based on notochord, presence or absence of notochord, you have phylum Chordata. See, from phylum Porifera to phylum uh, Echinodermata, they do not have any sort of uh, notochord or vertebral column. So we call them as non-chordates. Okay, so even hemichordata do not have genuine notochord, to be very precise. So they're all non-chordates. From phylum Chordata, they have notochord or vertebral column. So we call them as chordata. Okay, so from phylum Porifera to phylum Hemichordata, they're all non-chordates. So these are the various bases of classification. Various criterion for classification are the levels of organization, if they are having cellular grade of organization. So example is phylum Porifera. Tissue grade of organization, you notice it in case of phylum Cnidaria and Ctenophora. Then you have this organ system of organization and organ system of organization. So organ and organ system of organization from phylum Platyhelminthes, you notice that almost all the phylums, they'll be having organ and organ system of organization based on body symmetry, whether they are radially symmetrical or bilaterally symmetrical. So organisms are of different types. See, in case of phylum Porifera, they are asymmetrical. They don't have any symmetry at all. Phylum Ctenophora, phylum Cnidaria, and the young ones of the adults of Echinodermata, they are all exhibiting radial symmetry, whereas all the other organisms, they exhibit bilateral symmetry. Okay, so based on the type of body symmetry, you can also classify animals. Then based on the number of germinal layers, if they are having one layer, two layers, we call them as diploblastic. If they are having three layers, we call them as triploblastic animals. Then based on the presence or absence of coelom, see, if they are having coelom, we call it as coelomate. If they are having a false coelom, we call it as pseudocoelomate. If they are having a true coelom, we call it as eucoelomate or coelomate animals. Then based on segmentation, from Annelida, you find the segmentation, metamerism. On that basis also, we classify animals. Then based on presence or absence of notochord, we also classify animals. If they have notochord or vertebral column. So we call them as phylum Chordata. They include all this. Chordates include animals which have notochord and the vertebral column or vertebral column. So whereas the phylum Porifera to the phylum uh, Hemichordata, they are all non-chordates. They don't have, neither they have notochord nor vertebral column. So we call them as the non-chordates. Sometimes they also use the term invertebrates. Okay, so on these criterions and parameters, the animal kingdom is classified into different phylum. Okay, at any point of doubt, if any point of the class, if you have any doubts, you can get it clarified by inquiring me. You can just switch on your mic and you get your doubts clarified. See, based on organization of cells, this is very interesting topic what we are going to study about. So based on the organization of cells, animals are grouped into four levels: cellular level of organization, tissue level of organization, organ level of organization, then organ system level of organization. So based on the organization of cells, animals are grouped into 4 levels. The cellular grade of organization, example is phylum Porifera. The tissue level of organization, which you notice in Cnidaria, phylum Cnidaria and phylum Ctenophora. Then organ level of organization, then organ system level of organization. So these are the 4 types of animals based on their organization of cells. You have cellular level, tissue level, organ level, or organ system level of organization. So you have the cellular level of organization. So the cells are arranged as loose cells or aggregates. You can notice this in case of porifera, sponges. You can notice that. So tissue level of organization, the cells are arranged into tissues, but there are no organ and organ system. The cells are arranged into tissues. Example are cnidarians. Cnidarians are also called as coelentrates and ctenophores. The jelly combs, comb plates where they have. So the cnidarians and ctenophores, they exhibit this tissue level of organization where the cells are arranged into tissues. The organ level of organization, so tissues are arranged into organs. Example, higher elements from platyhelminthes to chordates, they have this organ level of organization. Then the organ system level of organization. So the organs are associated to form organ system. So each system performs a physiological function. Example, it is higher animals. Like say in higher animals like man, we have digestive system. So there is a stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum. Okay. Along with that, the accessory glands which are associated with this digestive system are the liver, pancreas. Liver secretes bile juice, pancreas secretes pancreatic juice. So all these organs, that is from the buccal cavity or mouth to the stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum, they're all different organs concerned with the digestive portion. They all have a common function, physiological function, that is digestion. Okay, so this sort of organ system level of organization you notice in the phylum Chordata. So the organ level of organization you notice from the platyhelminthes to chordates. You notice this organ level of organization. They don't have organ system. So organ system level of organization, you notice it in case of from chordata, you notice that, and we have digestive system, excretory system, respiratory system, all these systems which are concerned with any specific physiological function like digestion. So the digestive system is concerned with it, which has different organs doing a common physiological function, that is digestion. Similarly, respiratory system. So you have a nasal tract, nostrils, nasal tract. Then there is a windpipe, trachea, which leads into lungs. Okay. So the trachea branches to form bronchi. Then they branch to form bronchioles. So there are different organs involved in this respiration process. So we call it as organ system level of organization. So remember about this organ system level of organization, which is noticed in the members of phylum Chordata. So from platyhelminthes to uh, hemichordates, you can notice this organ level of organization. Okay. Now levels of organization, organ systems of different animals, they show complexities. Example, digestive system is of 2 types. Incomplete digestive system, it has only one opening. Both mouth and anus is common. Okay, it has only a single opening that acts both as a mouth and anus. Example, Cnidaria. Cnidaria is nothing but coelentrates. And Platyhelminthes, the flatworms. So they have a single opening which acts both as mouth and anus. So such sort of digestive system, we call it as incomplete digestive system. Here they have given an example of Hydra and Planaria. See, you need not have to practice this diagram. Still, I don't say that these diagrams are required and practiced. So please don't worry about the diagrams. These are for explanation part. We have this diagrams or pictures. Okay, so the planaria and hydra is an example here. Hydra belongs to coelenterate or cnidaria. Planaria belongs to platyhelminthes. So they have incomplete digestive system in cnidaria and platyhelminthes. Cnidaria example is hydra. The platyhelminthes example is planaria. Okay, so complete digestive system, it has both, it has a separate mouth and separate anus. So if those organisms which have a complete digestive system, they have a separate mouth and anus. So that you have to remember about. So circulatory system is of two types. They can be open circulatory system or closed type of circulatory system. So just now we discussed that organ systems also show complexities in animals. Example, the digestive system is considered to be incomplete if they have a single opening both for mouth and anus, as noticed in case of cnidaria and platyhelminthes. Now the circulatory system in animals can be of two types: open type of circulatory system and closed type of circulatory system. In human beings, we have a closed type of circulatory system. Heart pumps the blood into the blood vessels, that is the arteries, veins, and capillaries. So they are conducted through vessels, blood vessels. But in case of open type of circulatory system, heart pumps the blood directly into the body space. They don't have any arteries, veins, or capillaries. They don't have blood vessels. So we call such type of circulatory system where the heart pumps blood directly into the body space. We call it as open type of circulatory system. If the heart pumps blood into arteries, veins, and capillaries, that is through blood vessels if they are conducting the blood. So we call it as the closed type of circulatory system. Mammals and in particular human beings, we have very good examples for closed type of circulatory system. Now, basis of classification. Okay, it is the arrangement of similar body part on two sides of main axis of the body. Based on symmetry, animals are of two types: asymmetrical and symmetrical. See, asymmetrical body cannot be divided into two equal halves. Okay, so in any plane of division, you cannot divide the body into two equal halves in any plane of division. Example is the poriferans, snails. You cannot divide them into two equal halves. The two equal halves should have equal distribution of organs. If that is not going to happen, we consider that type of symmetry as asymmetrical. Example for asymmetrical organisms are porifera, snails. They are all example for asymmetrical organisms. Symmetrical body can be divided into two equal halves. Here you can see the diagram. So in a single plane, they can be divided into two equal halves. So body can be divided into two similar parts with equal distribution of organ. We call it as symmetrical. Symmetrical is of two types: radially symmetrical and bilateral symmetrical. So a beetle has a bilateral symmetry. Okay, so then I told you the coelenterata or cnidarians and ctenophora, they have radial symmetry. So body can be divided into two similar parts. So we call them as symmetrical type of symmetry. So the symmetrical type is of two types: radial symmetry. So example, most of these animals, they are circular or cylindrical in shape. So here the body can be divided into two equal halves by any vertical plane. By any vertical plane, you can divide the body into two equal halves if it is passing through the center of the body. By any vertical plane along the central axis, you can divide it into two equal halves. So that type of symmetry, we call it as radial symmetry. So more than one vertical plane, you can divide the organism into two equal halves. So we call it as radial symmetry. In radial symmetry, the body can be divided into two equal halves by vertical plane which passes along the central axis of the body. Example, a few examples of poriferans: Cnidaria, that is Coelenterata, Ctenophores, and adult echinoderms. They exhibit radial symmetry. See, the larval echinoderms, they exhibit bilateral symmetry. Echinodermata is having a unique thing. The larvae has bilateral symmetry and the adult has radial symmetry. So that is the reason whenever we are giving example for radial symmetry for echinodermata, we should always write in bracket adults. Only the adults are exhibiting the radial symmetry. Okay. Then the bilateral symmetry, you can notice it even in human beings. See, whenever you purchase a grilled chicken, so you are asking for half. They divide it at the center to give you equal portions of that chicken, isn't it? So they are dividing it at the bilateral symmetry. So birds, human beings, or many of the mammals, so the body can be divided into two equal halves in only one vertical plane of symmetry. So the body can be divided into right and left halves in only one plane. They do not have more than one plane, as in case of radial symmetry. In only one plane, you can divide the body into two equal halves, that is right and left halves. From platyhelminthes to chordata, except adult echinodermata, all of them exhibit bilateral symmetry. I told you about the grilled chicken. So they unknowingly they would be dividing the two body parts into equal body halves. You ask for half grilled, so they divide it at the bilateral symmetry and give you the half grilled part of it. Okay, so they are unknowingly doing this bilateral symmetry. See here you have an example of a lobster. So where they are divided into two equal planes in only one plane. Okay, they are divided into right and left halves in only one plane. So the body can be divided into right and left halves in only one plane. Example, platyhelminthes, flatworms to chordata. So all of them are having this bilateral symmetry except adult echinodermata. Larval echinodermata has the bilateral symmetry. Adult echinodermata, they have this radial symmetry. So all these organisms, they exhibit bilateral symmetry from platyhelminthes to chordata. So now the body of bilaterally symmetrical animal, it has a dorsal upper side. So the backside of us is dorsal. In human beings, the backside is dorsal. In this particular reptile, the upper part is dorsal. The underbelly part is the ventral. So the front side of human beings, since we are bipedal, we are not walking horizontally to the ground. And we are bipedal. The front part of us is the ventral region. The back part of us is dorsal. In an insect or a lizard or any reptile, you can notice that the upper part is the dorsal, the underbelly part is the ventral region. The head region is the anterior, and the tail region is the posterior. So you have left and right lateral sides. Okay, so this is how the body of bilaterally symmetrical animal has a dorsal upper side. So that is the bipedal animals like us. Our dorsal side is the back side, and our ventral side is the front side. But in these tetrapodal animals, which use four legs for walking, the upper side is the dorsal side, the underbelly region is the ventral. So the head region is the anterior, the tail region is the posterior, and they have left and right lateral sides. So based on the number of germinal layers, see there are two layers of embryo from which all the body organs are formed. So based Germinal layers are the layers of embryo from which all the body organs are formed. At the embryo level itself, the body organs are decided by this cells present in this germinal layer. So germinal layers, if they have three germinal layers, we call them as triploblastic animal. If they have only two germinal layers, we call them as diploblastic animals. So all the body organs are formed by this germinal layers at the embryonic stage. You should remember about that. So based on the number of germ layers, animals are of two types: diploblastic animal and triploblastic animals. So based on the number of layers, animals can be classified into two types: the diploblastic animal and triploblastic animals. So diploblastic animal, you can see the diagram here. So they have an outer ectoderm. So this bluish or lavender colored are the outer ectoderm. Okay, the pink colored one represents the mesoglia. Then the inner endoderm. So mesoglia is separating the ectoderm and endoderm. Okay, so they are, mesoglia is gelatinous, and semi fluid content will be there in mesoglia. Whereas in triploblastic animals, they have three layers: the outer ectoderm, the pink colored one, which is cellular, is the mesoderm. See, mesoderm is absent in diploblastic animals, but in triploblastic animals, they have this mesoderm, and inner ectoderm is there. So the inner endoderm, so outer ectoderm, middle mesoderm, and inner endoderm is there. So this is noticed in case of triploblastic animals. Whereas in diploblastic animals, they have outer ectoderm, inner endoderm, and middle mesoglia. Mesoglia is not cellular. Okay, they are uh, gelatinous thing. So now the definition is here. See, two germ layers are present in diploblastic animals: outer ectoderm and inner endoderm. In between these layers, an undifferentiated jelly-like layer called mesoglia is present. This is undifferentiated animals. In between the ectoderm and the endoderm, there is a undifferentiated jelly-like layer which is called as mesoglia. So example for diploblastic animals are Cnidaria and Ctenophora. So the examples for diploblastic animals are Cnidaria and Ctenophora. Then you have, in case of the triploblastic animals, they have three germ layers: the outer ectoderm, middle mesoderm, and inner endoderm. From Platyhelminthes to Chordata, all of them are triploblastic animals. So the diploblastic animals, Cnidaria and Ctenophora, are very good examples for diploblastic animals. Triploblastic animals from phylum Platyhelminthes to phylum Chordata, all the animals are triploblastic. Okay. Now, based on the coelom, see if the cavity is lined by mesoderm. If the cavity is lined by mesoderm, then we call it as coelomate animals. See, coelom or body cavity is the space present between the body wall and the alimentary canal. The place or space present between, or the cavity present between the body wall and the alimentary canal, we call it as coelom. See, if the coelom, if the cavity is lined by mesoderm, can you notice here the cavity is lined by mesoderm? So such type of coelom, we call it as a true coelom. So the animals are called as coelomate. So it is seen between the body wall and the gut wall. Gut wall is nothing but alimentary canal. So you can notice here the alimentary canal or gut wall. So the cavity seen between the body wall and the gut wall. So we call it as coelom. And the cavity is lined by mesoderm in case of coelomate animals. Coelom separates the muscles of gut, that is the alimentary canal, and body wall. So the coelom separates the muscles of alimentary canal and the body wall. So based on the nature of coelom, animals are of three types. Acoelomate, they do not have any coelom at all. Pseudocoelomate, they have a false coelom. Coelomate, they have true coelom. See, in case of human being, here there is a diagram. So in between the gut wall, the alimentary canal, and the body wall, so the body wall, so there is a space. We call that as coelom. Okay. So in human beings are coelomate animals because the coelom is lined by mesoderm also. Inner lining is by mesoderm. The cavity is lined by mesoderm. So based on the coelom presence, animals are of three types: presence or absence of it. If they do not have coelom, we call it as acoelomate animals. If they have false coelom, we call it as pseudocoelomate animals. And if they have true coelom, we call them as coelomate animals. So now you can notice that the space between the body wall and the digestive cavity is filled with matrix parenchyma. So example, Porifera to Platyhelminthes, they are all acoelomate. Okay, from Porifera to Platyhelminthes, they are coelomate, acoelomate. That is, they do not have any coelom. So the space between the body wall and digestive cavity, it is not just space, it's filled with matrix or parenchyma. So example, from Porifera to Platyhelminthes, you cannot even see the coelom cavity because they are filled with matrix or parenchyma. So example is Porifera to Platyhelminthes, they are all acoelomate animals. Pseudocoelomate, they have false coelom. That is, their coelom is present, but they are not lined by the mesoderm. See here, the body cavity is not lined by mesoderm. Instead, mesoderm is scattered as pouches. So you can see this pouches. So mesoderm is absent. They don't line the cavity. Rather, the mesoderm is scattered as pouches. So this type of coelom, we call it as false coelom or pseudocoelomate animals. Only one phylum exhibits it, Ascalmanthus or roundworms. See, from Porifera to Platyhelminthes, they are all acoelomate. Pseudocoelomate, only one phylum, that is Ascalmanthus or roundworms. So the body cavity here is not lined by mesoderm. Mesoderm is the form of scattered pouches. Example is Ascalmanthus. Coelomate animals, you find true coelom. They have a genuine coelom. So where the coelom arises from mesoderm, and coelom is lined by this peritoneal layer filled with coelomic fluid. So you can notice this mesoderm lining and peritoneal layer, and the coelom is filled with So the three types of animals are acoelomate, coelomate, and eucoelom. Okay, so you notice that in case of uh, these animals, so acoelomate, the space between the body wall and the digestive cavity is filled with matrix. Okay, so let me just get the screen.